We will be recording today's webinar so that if there's questions for you, the questions that other people have asked that you might not have thought to ask. We do have 71 people, last I checked last week, signed up. We're at over 60 right now.
We're up to 81 signed up.
We're up to 81 signed up. Wow. By all means, use the chat box, the Q&A box to ask questions for us. With that being said, I am Carrie Leary. I am the Director of Agency Services. I am the one who's been sending all those lovely messages to you. Kristen is our new Nutrition Resource Manager. Do you want to give it a shot, Kristen, for just a minute?
Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you.
So Kristen has been with us for a very long time as a Just Say Yes to Fruits and Vegetables nutrition educator. She is now the Nutrition Resource Manager. She is the one who has been evaluating all of the screening forms that have come back, and she's assembled some quick Q&As that we're going to go through. Obviously, Kristen's voice is not up to today's presentation. So I'm going to step in and see what we can do to answer any questions that you may have. To start with, I do actually kind of want to talk about the elephant in the room, and that is HPNAP. It has been rocky, which is impacting all of us. At the food bank level, they did change how and when we can receive eligible product, resulted in a huge loss of funds last year. But now we are, as you know, struggling to rebuild our inventory as we can only use food items received after July 1st. They are out there and booking double appointments, receiving as much as they can, but it is still a work in progress. I will say this is going to happen every year, but we do have a data analyst on board right now. Brian will be able to use that data to better guide us in prioritizing which foods to get into the doors first. The amount of funding that we have to distribute has remained the same. You guys are seeing more people. We have more agencies applying for that funding. Most of you are seeing less funding every year. Now, meanwhile, the reason we're here is HPNAP has changed the minimum 3-day food packing guide. They have broken dairy out into its own group. They do understand there are capacity restraints in terms of how much cold storage you have. So they are considering that optional. That's my term, not theirs. But also the amount to distribute in the other 3 required categories has increased, as well as how foods count has changed. So I have a quick little slideshow that I'm going to go through, and then we'll open it up to any questions that you guys have. So with that said, I'm going to share my screen. That's what I'm doing. I'm sorry, it's been meetings all day. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to pick this one. And you guys see my screen, correct? Okay. All right, so this new HPNAP package guidelines. This is impacting food pantries, not soup kitchens, not shelters, but the food pantries. Change pages, there we go. So there's a new division. At the food bank, we are continuing to grow. We are trying to better meet everybody's needs, the needs of the community. With that being said, the Nutrition Resource Manager, Kristen, which used to be part of agency services, is now part of this new division of community health and nutrition. So that's led by Sam Monks. And under Sam, we have Kristen with the nutrition, the NRM. Sam does food as medicine. And our Just Say Yes to Fruits and Vegetables nutrition educators are also falling under the community health and nutrition division. So while technically I'm not there as the NRM for a long period of time, I'm well versed in all of this, which is why I'm pitching in for Kristen and being her voice. You're welcome. All right, the new packing guidelines. So if we look at vegetables and fruits, some has remained the same. They're still saying one choice is equal to about 4 servings. But the amounts, the minimum amounts that you are required to distribute has nearly doubled. So for a family of 4, it used to be at least 10 choices for a family of 4. It is now 18 choices for a family of 4. The choices themselves have not changed. It's still about a pound, whether it be a can, frozen, or fresh, is considered to be one choice. Beans, when I say beans, I don't mean green beans. I mean the kidney beans, the chickpeas, the legumes. They are very unique in terms of, yes, they're a plant food. They have a lot of fiber and vitamins and minerals, the reasons we're eating vegetables, but they also have a lot of protein. So they can be considered either a vegetable or a fruit, but not both at the same time. So you have a little bit of flexibility there in terms of which way you're going to count your beans. The proteins, what they did with the proteins is they added plant-based proteins, which is fantastic. Got a little wonky, but they did add plant-based proteins like tofu. So we now have standards to count tofu. The nuts and the seeds didn't used to count because it was difficult to find nuts and seeds that have the minimum protein content, but they're now allowing them at 5 grams protein per serving, per 1 ounce serving. So that opened it up to allow more types of nuts and seeds into count for your proteins. One of the big changes here is your canned stew, canned chili. They used to be 1 can of chili was one choice. It's now takes 4 cans of chili to equal one choice. I don't know why. I can make guesses. They're simply guesses. But that is one of the big changes on that one. Another big change, though, actually is the peanut butter. Peanut butter used to be 18 ounces was 3 choices. They're now seeing 16 ounces is 2 choices. So dairy, while I say optional, what they say is offer based on product availability. If you don't have the cold storage to store a variety of dairy, you're not able to offer it based on these recommendations. But if you can, fantastic. Okay, but if you can't, that is okay. Focus on those other 3 required groups instead. So for the dairy, they're looking for one choice to be about 4 cups. So it's a quart of milk, which makes a gallon of milk, 4 choices. They got a little bit more lenient on the cheese. So it used to be the pre-sliced cheese did not count at all. The American cheese slices, the singles that you get from the deli, would count as one choice for 8 ounces, and 8 ounces of cheddar or mozzarella would count as 2 choices. So they took away that intermediary level of those American deli slices. So now the pre-wrapped singles still don't count, but any other type of cheese counts as 2 choices for 8 ounces. So I see questions are coming in. There's only a few slides. I'm going to go through all the slides and we'll go through and answer the questions. Again, if you don't have the dairy, you don't have to offer it. They have added soy milk. Soy milk is the only milk alternative that is counting, the only plant-based milk alternative because it has enough protein. Your milk alternatives such as hemp milk and coconut milk and oat milk and almond milk do not have enough protein. They do not count. We had recently an inventory Chobani super milk, and I think I included that in one of my emails. What I don't know that we included is that it's going to be coming on a regular basis. So Chobani is donating it to us on a regular basis. We will be having that for 16 cents a pound. We will be making sure that it gets down to the food bank at the Hudson Valley Distribution Center as well. We get USDA milk on a regular basis. Again, that assumes you have adequate cold storage, whereas the Chobani Super Milk is a shelf-stable product. Nourish New York yogurt, we get in on a regular basis as well. Some dairy, not all dairy items count. Cream cheese, sour cream, butter do not have the protein that's needed and do not count. Grains remains one choice, about 12 servings. This has gone up as well, not as significantly as the vegetables and fruits did. So where it used to be for a family of four, you needed 5 choices of grains. Now you need 6 choices for a family of four. There are some new additions in here, like tortillas now count as a serving of a grain. Um, Remember that your macaroni and cheese or your rice mix, your pasta mix, those boxed items or pouches, it takes 3 to equal 1 choice of grains. We have added quinoa, we have added cornmeal, stuffing mix. Some other questions that Kristen has seen coming through is, do we have to hit this compliance weekly or monthly? The answer to that is any time that you're distributing food to your neighbors in need and counting them towards your HPNAP numbers, you must provide that full amount of food. If you give them 6 days of food, does that mean you count them twice? No, you can only count them once. Each time you give them 3 days worth of food. If you give them 3 days worth of food this week and then again next week, you count them twice. But if you just make it 6 days of food once, you can only count them once. And boy, do I feel as though I made that confusing. So throw your questions in. The guidelines for grain say a household of 6 gets 9 choices. So what does a household of 6 get? A household of 12 get. So 12 gets your 18 choices. You added the columns, you did the math for a family of 6 plus a family of 6. So if you have family sizes larger than 6, which is what the chart goes up to, you have to do that math to add, if it's 8, you're adding 6 plus 2. If it's 10, it's 6 plus 4. HPNAP funding is intended to be supplemental funding. It is not meant to be the entirety of your budget, yet it does dictate how you operate year round because you're expected to provide this amount of food even once your HPNAP funding has been spent. As I said, the HPNAP funding has remained the same for a number of years. Strongly encourage that you do reach out to all of your local representatives. Make sure that they understand fully what it is that you do and stress the importance of receiving or increasing your HPNAP support. So if you have questions, Kristen is going to pop her contact information into the chat, both her email and her phone number, although please don't call her today. Uh, so that you can ask her questions. Anything she's not comfortable answering, I can certainly help with. So I'm going to stop sharing this. I'm going to see what questions you guys have popped in already. And she put the new guidelines in there.
No, participants were asking if they could have copies of the slides. So that's the slideshow.
Okay. All right, everybody. Let's ask me some questions and not Kristen. I'm opening it up to you guys. Take yourself off of mute. Fire away. Any questions that you have? This is your time. Can dairy still be counted as a protein choice? No. Dairy is now considered dairy. They took it out of the proteins. The webinar is not set up to take people off of mute. Well, that's unfortunate.
There are questions in the Q&A box too, if you want to go through those.
In the Q&A box?
Yeah.
Okay. I was looking at the chat. Okay. Looking for the slideshow. If a frozen meat is 4 choices, let me stop at that part right now. A frozen meat is 4 choices. That means 1 pound of meat is 4 choices. Okay, so frozen meat is 4 choices, but a family of 1 only gets 3 choices. How do you figure that? You can either give them, if your client choice, give them smaller packages of meat. But again, these are minimum guidelines. By all means, if you can go over and above, please do. Repeat the dairy in the cup. Let's see. I believe that I said one choice of dairy is about 4 cups of a dairy product is their general rule of thumb. Does the box milk count that is stored on the shelf? Absolutely. So 1 quart of that Chobani super milk or 1 quart of any shelf stable milk will count as one choice. We are a choice pantry. If a client, thank you for bringing this up, Ken. If a client does not want certain HPNAP items that are being offered, can we still count them since we offered them? Yes. Yes. What is important is that you are offering it to them. You are not forcing anybody to take it, but you're still being credited as having offered that to them. Excellent point. Thank you. Review the cheese choices again. Pre-wrapped singles do not count. Any other type of cheese, 8 ounces of cheese counts as 2 choices of dairy. Repeat about if we need to distribute one time for the week. Okay, so if I come to visit you with my 3 kids, I come to visit you this week, and you give me a full pantry package worth of food, you're going to count me and my 3 kids this week. If I come back to see you next week and you serve me again that full pantry package, you are going to count me and the kids again. However, if you're trying to make it easier and just give me 6 days worth of food, unfortunately, you cannot count me twice. You're only going to get credit for serving me once. Was that better, Kristen, this time? Okay. There's questions in here about whether or not your HPNAP screening form met the requirements. Kristen will let you know if they did or did not. Meat seems to be the least of the problems. Fantastic, because the choice is high, but the amount of greens seems really high. You know, it's funny because nothing about this is funny. A lot of people assume that the vegetables and the fruits is going to be the biggest issue, but yes, grains are, I think, the hardest for people to get. I agree, Cindy, that the choice of grains does seem really high. It doesn't have to be all different types. You know, if you have a lot of rice or pasta, tend to be less expensive than the cereal. You don't have to include breakfast cereal in your package if that helps at all. I mentioned that dry beans can be part of the vegetable fruits as well as the proteins. They can be either. So if you're running low on vegetables and fruits, you can consider them, whether they're dry or canned, to be a vegetable, or you can consider them to be a protein. Yes, we are recording so that it can be posted to our website. Will there be more vegan or soy milk or non-meat products available? It's an excellent question. And I'm going to have to say that as part of our purchase inventory, I don't believe so. We are, because of the way that HPNAP has restricted us in terms of receiving, we are struggling to keep the basics in inventory on a regular basis. So I don't think we're going to be able to expand, including some of those non-meat or vegan options. Only what we get donated to us. It doesn't mean there isn't a need for it. It just simply means that we're not able to meet the basic needs with the new restrictions that we have imposed on us. If we don't have availability of these products, can we provide alternate options that are in stock? Abiola, can you just shoot another message in terms of which type of products we're discussing? When I showed all the list of what included in a food category, you do not have to provide absolutely everything. Kind of goes back to what I said about the grains. If you have an abundance of rice and pasta, stock them up on rice and pasta. And if that's not the question, please try again. What happens if a client does not want half of what's in the bag? And yes, if they are choosing not to take everything that's being offered to them, that is their choice. You have still met the requirements by offering them those choices. All right, let me come over here. Oh, what happens when we run out of food and cannot provide all of the items required by HPNAP? We usually tell clients that we only have some food items available and give them the choice of taking it or going to another food pantry. So this is kind of the rub of this. HPNAP is supplemental, but it's meant to be followed year round, even once your funding is gone. So every time you count that person towards your HPNAP numbers, it's with the expectation that you did give them 3 meals a day for 3 days per person. So technically, I have to tell you that if you do not have enough food to meet those requirements, you will not be able to count them towards your monthly numbers. Can we give out venison professionally packed and count as meat? Venison is 100% counted as a protein, as a meat protein. We do have funding, not us per se, but HPNAP supplies some funding. If you go to venison, I think it's venison donation, donation coalition, venison. There is funding where they can process the meat for you and pay for the processing costs. Venisondonation.com. We don't often have venison in our inventory, but we do sometimes, but it completely 100% counts. Do items like mayonnaise, oils, and salad dressings count toward anything, or are they just a bonus? They're a bonus. So while HPNAP will pay for the mayonnaise and the oils and the salad dressings, they do not count towards the food pantry package. So if funding is an issue, you might want to think about diverting the funding from the extras that make the foods taste better to the basic foods. Three meals a week. I'm not sure what that question was, so I can't answer that one. I joined a few minutes late. What is the start date of this new plan? It has already started. It was effective immediately when we were notified in July. If we don't have beef and poultry, can we substitute with canned salmon? Absolutely, 100%. Or non-meat proteins, or absolutely. Does 1 pound generally equal one choice? If we're talking vegetables and fruits, yes. If we're talking meat, no. 1 pound of animal meat is usually 4 choices. If clients request Ensure as a supplement, is the food pantry required to provide that meal supplement to their clients? No. And Ensure isn't going to count towards the food pantry package. While it's great if you can work with your client's special dietary needs, you are not required to do so. The 3 days a week meals, protein, because 1 pound of package, 1 pound pack of meat would be the only protein. Yes. So when they devised this guide, the intent was to balance the number of servings in a package with my plate recommendations. And that's kind of how they came up with the amount suggested. So a 1 pound of meat for one person, is that 3 meals a day for 3 days? It's probably not. It's probably dinner for 3 days. They did actually, they did actually acknowledge some pushback and recognize that proteins are very expensive. It's not something that agencies can supply to the full extent of my plate. So the protein amount is less than my plate would support. If you're talking a pound of meat, there's also 1 pound of meat with bones. Is that the same amount of protein as 1 pound that's boneless? It's not. So you can be very strict and follow the chart just by the choices, but you can also try to follow the spirit of what it is. And the spirit is 3 meals a day for 3 days per person, and try to make sure that you are supplying them with enough food to meet that. But the bare minimum is by the chart. Is there any kind of crackers or whole grain crackers that counts for grains? No. So HIPNAP funds for 3 meals a day for 3 days. They view crackers as a snack. Kristen and I know peanut butter and jelly taste just as good on those crackers. Tuna salad is just as good on those crackers. However, we have fought that battle many times and we have lost. Crackers are an extra, do not count towards the grains. So what happens when we place the order and we pick up the food items and food items are missing from the list, leaving us short to meet the requirements? We recognize that as an issue. We're recognizing how that is impacting you. And ultimately, all of these changes, how they impact the people in the community that you are trying so desperately to feed. And so are we. If we're notified of a number of people impacted by something that we just don't have, I have been sending out emails for that, but there are still instances where you're not getting items that are on your order. We are working through a number of challenges trying to address that. I do apologize. I understand how important that is. Please don't lose faith in us and keep trying, but also make sure you let us know. If it's notated at the time that you're picking up, we can make that correction on the sheet. The truck driver, or the guys in the warehouse will make that notation. So just please stay in contact with us. If it's not notated at that time, you have to sign off actually that you did receive everything when you're picking up your order. I'm not like Kristen, but I'm getting there. How is HIPNAP funding decided? What are the funding requirements? The funding requirements are you have to be an emergency feeding program, a food pantry, a soup kitchen, or a shelter, a food pantry and soup kitchen that's open to the general public. You have to take food safety at least once every 5 years. You have to provide the minimum nutritional requirements. For a soup kitchen or a shelter, that means that each meal has to have 3 of the 5 meal components, and at least one of them has to be a vegetable. For a food pantry, you have to be following this food pantry guide. Applications are submitted annually. Mark your calendar. Applications go out March 1st and are due back the second Friday in April. For the HIPNAP application, it's really very straightforward. We're given a pot of money to spend. As I said, that number has not really changed over a number of years. We look at the number of meals, average number of meals served per month, and we compare that to average number of meals served throughout our entire 23 county. So it's a basic percentage to come up with how much money you are receiving. What do soups count as? They don't. So yes, tomato soup is made of tomatoes, but it is not a vegetable because it's not 100% tomato. There are other ingredients in there. Your chunky soups do not have enough protein to count as a protein. So soups are an extra. You and I may choose to eat them as a meal, but according to HIPNAP, they are an extra. So what happens if you are not following these guidelines? Kind of address if you don't have the food, you're not supposed to be counting them towards your monthly numbers. We already said the number of people that you report each month is how your funding is determined for upcoming years. You can choose to opt out of receiving HIPNAP. And by opting out, that simply means you would not get this grant funding. You would then not be required to provide this amount of food per person. You would lose the option of HPNAP produce, but we have a lot of Nourish New York produce coming through, so that one isn't as critical. You could choose to apply the next year. It's an annual application. Opting out of HPNAP does not mean that you would have to opt out of receiving operation support. That is HPNAP's non-food funding that you apply for at the same exact time as operation support. You could still receive your USDA commodity products if you opt out of HPNAP. So it's going to be your choice whether or not you choose to remain a HPNAP recipient. Do we think the 1115 waiver will have a positive impact on funding for the food bank? That's actually a lot of what Sam is working with the Food is Medicine, where she is trying to expand that program using the 1115 waiver. Sam actually, Kristen, can you drop Sam's information in the box if anybody wants to reach out to Sam to talk more about Food is Medicine? Or can
I
you?
can, I can allow her to talk to see.
Ooh.
Hey, Sam, are you there to speak on this at all?
Yes. Hello. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Awesome. Yeah. Hi, everybody. I don't know why, but my camera's not actually working. But yeah, I've actually been here at the food bank for the past year working on our Food is Medicine program. I was the Food is Medicine manager. And now I'm in this director role within community health. So we have been on the lookout for all of the 1115 waiver kind of happenings and how it's starting to come down to CBOs like us. There's a lot of work going on our side of what that's going to look like for us and how we can help out our agency partners as well. So there's a lot of behind the scenes going on, but I'm happy to chat further with anyone that wants to learn more or just kind of have a conversation about it. I'll have Kristen share out my information so you can reach out whenever. If
Thank
there's
you,
any
Sam.
questions about it, yeah, I can answer those probably via email offline on this though.
Another question is, will we get bread? Order it, but we rarely get it. Bread is something that is a constant concern. Concern is probably not the right word. When we list the amount of bread in inventory, it is honestly that one item is more or less a guess, how much we anticipate having. We work closely with Bimbo, used to be Freihofer's. They actually baked the bread just to donate to us. They had an unexpected shutdown for renovations over the summer. So that did have a negative impact on us in terms of delivery sites. If there isn't room on the truck, bread gets pulled first. It's not ideal. We are actually very much hoping that with the transition to the new distribution center in Montgomery, that we're going to be able to better meet some of these issues, such as that. And so again, I'm asking you to not lose faith in us and continue to try to order bread. Many of our families of 4 are 2 adults and 2 children under 3. Are we still following the same food requirements? Excellent question. And that would be yes. Even if the baby is 1 day old, they are considered a person and you are giving them that full amount of food. You know, if you maybe have baby food or toddler food or food more agreeable to young children, that's great. But they still technically get the same amount of food offered to them. We have a client list and they come regularly. What about people who are not on our list? We tell them to check their area for food pantries. However, we cannot refuse, right? This is considered an emergency. So each food pantry can choose to set up their own geographical boundaries that they would have to enforce with everybody. That is your choice, your prerogative. You know your capacity better in terms of storage, volunteers, etc. However, if you are receiving HPNAP, if somebody comes to you for the first time, regardless of where they live, first time, you must serve them the full pantry package. You can then refer them elsewhere. If you have geographical boundaries, you can then refer them elsewhere for future visits. But the first time you must serve them. Excellent question. Thank you. Do we really need all these sheets of paper when we pick up our order? Oh, Brenda, I know. It's a large waste of paper. We have been promised a document designer by the software designers. Let me just share with you because I think many people might not fully understand. Our previous software, we were this close to breaking every day. It was a hope and a prayer, please work today. So we had to switch. It wasn't something like, well, let's try something new. We had to switch before it was catastrophic. So there's 200 food banks in the country. There are two types of software. So we went with the one that was most similar to the one we had been using, same company. Has it been smooth? Oh no, no, not at all. So with that being said, they have promised a document designer that is coming, and the document designer is going to do many things for us, including change the way things are looking. So it's no longer going to be 42 pieces of paper when it's 18 pages of inventory. It's really going to allow us to better design how it looks. With that being said, they had been saying it would be released in September. Didn't happen. So we're hoping by the end of 2024, it will be released. It will then take them some time to learn it so they can train us. We are well aware that's an issue. We have to print that a number of times for each agency, and yes, it's not good. It's not a silly question. So you order milk and you don't receive it. Are you talking like USDA milk, like perishable milk? Because if it's something, I know we had to pull milk off of the order this week because it was dated 9/25. And so by the time anybody were to receive it, it would be too far past the cushion dates. So I'm not sure if that's what you're talking about or something else. So going back to the paper, you're getting both packing lists and invoices. Yes. Auditors require that you sign off on invoices. The invoices are printed in no apparent rational manner. The packing lists were printed by storage types so they were easier to follow, easier for you to use as a guide when checking off your orders. Until we started adding some new items, we had to recode items for HPNAP, and then they're showing up under miscellaneous. It is still more cohesive and easier for you to check off your order as you receive it. But legally, you have to sign the invoice. Your packing list and invoice have the same exact information, just done in a different, laid out in a different manner. But again, yes, waste of paper, but that is why. Legal reasons and usability reasons. How many years before status recertification is asked or required? I'm going to have to assume that's a food safety question. Once every 5 years, somebody has to take food safety. I will say that may be changing due to Feeding America, but we're not getting there yet. As of right now, it's once every 5 years. And no, the paper is not a small concern, it's a huge concern. Is it possible to put expiration dates in PWW when the date is within a week or two? You would think, right? However, we have a lot of mixed palettes. So if it has a number of different dates in that one palette, we can't put multiple expiration dates because you don't know which ones are being pulled. So whenever possible, we do. It's just not nearly as often as we would like. And thank you for the correction, not expiration dates, best by dates. All right, I have gotten through all of the questions that you guys have popped in the chat. Kristen, do you have the ability to take people off of mute? See if anybody wants to. Here's two more. Pantry clients, how many years before their status requires recertification? Okay. If they're receiving TFAP, USDA commodity products, they have to do that TFAP self-attestation form once every 12 months. And the food pantry is once a month, is once every 30 days. Just so you know, that is your food pantry who says once every 30 days. Every food pantry is different. Some say people can come once a week. Some say they can come as often as they want. And some say most food pantries do say once a month. So Kathy, that's up to you guys to determine based on your community needs, but also your funding, your space, your capacity, your volunteers, etc. When I get fruit and veggies, sometimes it's bad. Will there be a more stringent check before they are sent with the order? If you get bad produce, please reach out to us and let us know. But we are working on clarifying the definition of, is it one peach in the entire case? Is it 2 peaches? Is it 5, 10? Pictures. We really need pictures of the entire case as well. Okay, now I'm through everything.
All right,
You guys are keeping me busy.
got a hand raised here. Oh, you
All
got,
right.
you can unmute yourself.
Hi, Richard.
Hi, and how are you? Yeah, I thank you for unmuting me. It was just we have pantry guests, pantry clients, however you categorize them, who were originally registered in 2019, and they might have a family of 10 or less. And when does a requirement to like recertify, in other words, the amount of family, I mean, because unfortunately people do die, people
And
do
people
leave the
get born.
homes and so forth, so what the size of your household, what it was 5 years ago, may definitely be something different today. So how long is it that we wait before we ask or before we can require that they resubmit proof of everyone who is in that particular household?
So other than TFAP, there are no technical requirements. Most food pantries do choose to do recertification on an annual basis, though, which ties in nicely with the self-attestation for TFAP.
Sounds good
Because
to me.
yes, things do change. Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Penny dropped something in there. Is there a sheet on how long after expiration dates is good on salad dressing and other items? So Kristen can try to drop that into the chat. And some items are past the expiration date when we get them. Absolutely. The food bank is one of our, we run on donated food. Purchase is really not what we want to be doing. We're trying to rescue food and share it out, the good, healthy food. Food is good long past the date for the most part, as long as it's been handled correctly, especially those shelf-stable foods have quite a long shelf life after the date. Newest intake form for them to fill out. On our website, regionalfoodbank.net, if you go to the partner portal, I have a hard time saying that, partner portal, you're going to find the most current TFAP self-attestation. You're going to find the most current USDA civil rights training. We are due to get a new one soonish from the state. We will, of course, send out notifications to everybody, once that has been updated on our website. We have a sample intake form. So I think if you go to our partner portal, you should find what you are looking for. Anybody else want to come off mute and ask a question?
Carrie, did you answer? We post this, sorry. We post this presentation on the patient or parent, on the
Partner.
portal too. Yes.
I missed that one, that question, but yes, we will be posting this on the partner portal as well. I occasionally still find salvage meat that is bloated packages. So that's a certain type of packaging where it has usually like a plastic bottom with sides. You can't really see my hands that are waving all around with the clear plastic top. What they do is they're sucking out the air in there and pumping in gases to make it look better longer. So while it might look bloated, it's usually just a reflection of how much gas did they add back in. Anybody else like to come off of mute and ask a question? Penny?
So I would first of all like to say thank you for the many different varieties that you come up with. It gives us a little more of a items that we can offer. When you were talking about the venison, do you sometimes get donations then, or
Mhm.
is the venisondonation.com something we can go to?
If you know a hunter that wants to donate the entire deer, I don't know the terminology, the entire deer, or even just part of the deer, you would go to that website to find a processor near you and reach out to them and make sure that they know that you're coming through the Venison Donation Coalition, to look for that funding to pay for the processing of the meat. I used to be under the impression that it had to be donated back to the food bank. My understanding is that you as a food pantry can reach out to them, have it processed and delivered directly back to you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for saying we respond quickly. We try, don't always get there as quickly as we would like. I truly, yes, we're the food bank, fantastic. But without you guys actually providing food to people, we would be nothing. So thank you. Again, really understand the challenges that all of this is impacting, not just us, but to you, and then ultimately to the people you're trying to serve. Anybody else want to come off of mute? Oh, there's more in there. All right, Francis, maybe we take this offline with Kristen about the meat. Okay, if someone is scheduled to watch this on Thursday but now has a conflict, can they simply watch it when it's available? Absolutely. And oh, will that count as having seen it? This is not required by any stretch. This is for your benefit to try to answer any questions that you may have to make it easier for you to implement. Kristen is always available to answer any questions that you have in the meantime. So yes, watching it on that date just allows for that immediate question to be asked and maybe help somebody else or hear somebody else's question that you didn't think of. But there is no requirement to take this. You're welcome. Thank you, Z. Cindy?
Yeah, I just have to say that looking at the form that you had sent out that we had to fill out, talking it over now just clarifies it so much more.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, this is really helpful, really. Thank you.
Thank you. You are so welcome. We do want to make it as easy as possible for people to implement. So thank you, Cindy. Anybody else want to come off of mute? I gotta say thank you to you guys. I mean, the questions that came in were fantastic and covered a wide variety. Fantastic. Where in the partner portal will this be posted? That's a good question. Let me look at the partner portal. It's either going to be I don't know. Let me ask you guys, where do you think would be most helpful? Under HPNAP? I think under HPNAP OS as opposed to under webinar recordings. So I'm going to say we'll post it under, I'm not sure I have that ability. It's going to be one of two places, either under HPNAP OS grant or under the webinar recordings. So when placing an order, some items have a service fee. Does this fee come out of the grants at the time the order or time when it's billed? So a service fee is your shared maintenance fee. Feeding America allows us to charge up to, I think it's 22 cents per pound for an item. We have kept it at 16 cents per pound for as long as I've been around, and I've been around for a long time. It's not that we're trying to make money off of you guys, but if we're picking up a load of something in California, we have to transport it here. If it's a frozen product, it goes to our freezers. We have to pay the guys in the warehouse to move it around to deliver it to you. At the end of the year, the board has voted for at least 10 years to return a portion of any surplus funds to you in the form of, it is now being called the gratitude grant. So that gratitude grant goes onto account for you to spend by December 31st. And that's our thank you for that for money that you can use home, however, and it was based on how much pounds you ordered throughout the year. So when you're placing an order, my understanding is that your grant balance is updated at the time of order. And if you tend to not select those with the fee, it just makes it, if you're looking only for the free items, it makes it very difficult to be a pantry where you can ensure that you're providing enough proteins, enough vegetables, fruits, and grains. So feel free to reach out to me because I'm not sure I'm understanding that question completely. So I'd love to talk more with you about that one. Caught up again? We have 5 minutes left. What questions do you have? Penny?
I don't really have a question. I just want to say thank you for doing this and thank you for all. We get so many emails from you, but that's a good thing. I love keeping updated and informed. So thank you.
Thank you, Penny. And thank you, Kristen, for setting this up.
Thank you for taking over for me.
Yeah, they all thank me for that one.
Yes. One more question in the Q&A.
Can we count? I see that. Can we count baby food or formula as anything? Formula does not count. Just like Ensure didn't count, formula does not count. Baby food counts. Pureed meat, the baby meat counts, but it takes 4 ounces to be one choice. Same with the vegetables. It takes 1 pound of the baby vegetables to be one choice. So yes, it counts. It just takes a bit more. But still the same amount as it would be for adult food, just more containers. I feel like we're in a staring contest right now. Keep those questions coming, guys. These are good. All right. Well, if nobody else has any other questions, I want to say thank you very much for joining us. Thank you for riding the roller coaster with us. Please reach out with any questions. If you don't understand, please just reach out and we will do our best to explain it to you. And thank you for the journey. Okay. Bye.